Bonjour, French 1. Today's lesson is actually your study guide for your Section 4.2 test, all about getting school supplies, whether it's because you're borrowing them or going shopping. For the first section on your test, you'll be asked to label some pictures of French school supply items. Basically, you'll have to know how to write out the item, including the article, but the 5 items that are on your test are among the 6 that are on your study guide right now, so at least know how to spell these. If you have to label a pair of shorts, it's un short. If you have to label a backpack, it's un sac à dos. If you have to label a pen, it's un stylo. If you have to label an eraser, it's une gomme. If you have to label a piece of paper, it's une feuille de papier. And if you need to label a pencil bag or a pencil case, whatever you call it, it's une trousse. For the second section of the test, they will give you an item in French. You have to be able to understand what that item is and then write an appropriate color that is typically associated with that item. Now, I know lots of things can come in multiple colors, but we're talking about the most typical, regular, normal things or colors that you can associate with these items. So une gomme, first of all, is an eraser. So as far as colors go, on the end of a pencil, it's usually either rose or blanc. It's either pink or white. You don't have to write both. You don't have to make it agree. You just have to give me an appropriate color, and pink or white will both work for gomme. Tableau is a board. If you forgot about that from earlier in the year, it's a board as in like a blackboard or a whiteboard or a chalkboard. So again, chalkboards used to come in either the colors vert or noir. Vert is green and noir is black. Nowadays, whiteboards are what we have, so I'll also take blanc on that one. For number 3, feuilles de papier are sheets of paper, as in notebook paper. Be careful. Don't try to stretch the truth here and say construction paper. Notebook paper is typically blanc. It's typically white. Ballon de basketball is a basketball, so that would be an orange colored item. Stylo du professeur are pens of the teacher. Now, they're talking about when a teacher grades your papers and how they typically grade in red pen. I know technically pens come in all colors, but they're talking about the teacher grading with red pen, so red is rouge. And finally, when they're talking about un crayon, a pencil, they're talking about your typical everyday number 2 pencils and what the outside color of the pencil is, and those are typically yellow. Jaune is the color that I would call those regular number 2 pencils. For the third section of your test, you will have to be able to write out numbers off the top of your head, but among these 6 are the exact 5 from your test, so worry about knowing these 6 to be sure, and you're guaranteed to know the 5 that are on your test. 76 is a weird one because, again, there's no word for 70, it's just the word for 60 and 16. That would be 76. Then the word for 82, of course, is the word for 80 and 2. That would be the word for 80, 80, and 2, which is deux. 45 would be a combination of course, the word for 40 and the word for 5, 45. 200 is literally just the words for 200s, so 200. 91 is a strange one. It's a combination of the word for 80 and the word for 11. So 80 is 80, 11 is 11. Together you get 91. And then 159 would be the word for 100, which is cent, the word for 50, which is 50, and the word for 9, which is neuf. 159 is 159. The fourth section of your test is going to give you a word bank, and then they're going to give you a conversation in which they've deleted some of the parts of that conversation. Now, the conversation and the word bank on your test are very, very similar to what you're looking at now on your study guide. So follow along, make sure you know what the choices in the box mean, and then make sure you know what the conversation means so you know when to use each phrase appropriately. Beyond that, pay close attention to capitalization, as well as some of the punctuation can clue you in. I made sure that I capitalized the first word of sentences and then I didn't if it was mid-sentence, if that helps you as far as looking for clues on your test. So first things first, what the words in the box actually mean. Merci means thank you. De quelle couleur means in what color. Je cherche means I'm searching or looking for. Il est à combien is it's how much, as in how much does it cost. And il me faut is one of the ways of saying I need. So when we start filling in this conversation between the store owner and the student starts with salut, which is the store owner, and the student says salut, and then they say something about un sac à dos, s'il vous plaît, which is a backpack, please. Only thing that would really make sense here, as far as making sure that it's both capitalized and going to fit in the sentence, is je cherche, which means I'm looking for a backpack, please. Salesperson says, oh yes, oui. Nous avons beaucoup de sacs à dos. We have lots of backpacks. And then they ask the person a question about the backpack. Now here you almost kind of want to read the next line to go backtrack and see what the question's supposed to be. The next line says violet ou rose, which is purple or pink, please. So they answered with a color, so it just stands to reason that the salesperson probably asked, well, what color are you looking for? The way you say what color is de quelle couleur. Again, this student or the shopper says, I want one in either purple or pink, please, to which the salesperson says, voila, which is here it is. Now, once again, there's really no way of telling what the student says next about this pink backpack, the pink one here, unless you look at the next line. The next line is the salesperson answering by saying, it's $20. So if the salesperson said it's $20, then the student probably asked, how much is it, which is il est à combien. So how much is the pink one? It's $20. To which the shopper says, ah oui, oh yeah, I also need a ruler. Here's the word also, here's the word ruler. Out of the options that are left, il me faut is the only one that makes sense because it means I need. So I need a ruler also is what the student says. To which the store owner says, voila, which is here, une règle rose. They also handed this person a pink ruler. And the person, of course, says merci, which is thank you, to which the store owner says à votre service, which is you're welcome. Again, if you don't know what these phrases mean, I know the word bank gives people a false sense of security, so take your time, read through it a couple times. If you want to rewind the video and write down what it means next to the actual phrases on your paper so you can study that, you have to know what the sentences mean, or the word bank will not help you figuring out where they go if you don't even know what the sentences that they're going in mean. So take some time with this one. It could be potentially very easy if you've studied just a little bit. The fifth section is probably the hardest section if you don't prepare and know what they're going for here. On the quiz, you'll be asked to tell what some people prefer using a given item and the adjective as a noun. So here's the thing. They give you the item in parentheses, but the reason why they give you the item in parentheses is because they don't actually want you to use it in the sentence. They just know that you need that information so that when you complete the sentence, you can choose the correct article, as in the correct le, la, le, or l apostrophe, and so that when you use the describing word, which they give you in the original masculine form, you can make it agree with the item and whether it's masculine, feminine, plural, and all that good stuff. So if you'll notice, every single time on these answers, I'm not actually writing the word in parentheses. I'm just writing the correct le, la, le, or l apostrophe based on the item in parentheses, and then writing the correct form of the describing word and changing the ending on it to make it match whatever is in parentheses and whether that item is masculine or feminine. So on this first one, I don't want to write a whole sentence that says Luke prefers the blue tennis shoes. I just want to say that Luke prefers the blue ones. So the way you do that is you use the correct the. For something plural like basket, the correct the is les, L-E-S. And then when I write the color blue, for again, the blue ones, we're not repeating the word basket, I have to make it agree with basket. And basket are feminine and plural, so I added an E and an S to bleu. Luc préfère les bleus means that Luke prefers the blue ones, but it's very important that you have the right the and the right blue to match basket. It's also very important that you don't actually put basket in the sentence because that's not the task. So on this next one, we want to write a sentence, but we don't want to say the whole sentence of we prefer the difficult tests, which I know is a stupid thing to say, but we just want to say we prefer the difficult ones. So we're going to take out the word tests, but even though we're taking it out, we're going to still make the word the agree with tests, and we're still going to make difficult agree with tests. So tests with the S at the end is obviously plural, so we're going to use les, L-E-S. And then difficult, difficile, has to be made plural as well. So we're going to add an S to that as well. Tests, by the way, are technically masculine and plural. So we left this in its original masculine form and added an S to it. If we wanted to say instead of I prefer the big dictionary, we want to say I prefer the big one. You have to make sure that the and the word big agree with dictionary and whether it's masculine, feminine, singular, or plural. It is a masculine singular item, and there's no way to tell from looking at the word. You just have to have it memorized, or maybe you can look back at other parts of your test. But that means I need the masculine form of the, which is le. It means I need the original masculine form of big, which is grand. If I want to say y'all prefer, instead of the green binders, just the green ones, again, I have to consider the fact that I'm talking about binders. Binders are masculine and plural, so I have to use my plural form of the, which is les, L-E-S, and I have to take my form of green, and I have to, it's already masculine, but I have to make it plural as well by adding an S. finally, if I want to say that the teachers prefer, instead of the easy homework, I just want to say the easy ones, as in like the easy assignments, I got to take out the word homework, but I got to consider the fact that homework is plural and masculine. That tells me that I have to use my plural form of the, which is lay, and I have to also make the word easy plural by adding an S. Again, if you've looked at the study guide and you have some vague direction of the idea that you're using le, la, le, l apostrophe followed by the describing word, you probably won't have too many problems. But if you just try to go at this without knowing that, a lot of people end up writing the words in parentheses, writing complete sentences, doing way more than they need to, and actually getting points off because they say you're just supposed to use the adjective as a noun, which means you don't put the actual noun in your sentence. So be careful on that section. The last section is a section in which you have those ER verbs that have something going on with their accent marks. So the first thing I want you to realize is that the only ones that actually have accent mark changes are the forms that are inside the boot, the je, the tu, the il, and the ils forms, right? So that means these nous and vous ones are completely and utterly regular. You drop off the ER, you add your se kinds of endings, and you leave the accent marks however they are in the original form. If they both go the same direction, you leave them that way, and you just change the ending on them. So again, in order to say we hope to have good students, drop the ER, add your ONS, nous espérons. And in order to say y'all repeat after the teacher, you drop the ER and add the EZ, leaving those accent marks the same. The rest of them, though, all have subjects that are inside the boot, which means you have to do something about the accent marks. So with préféré, the first thing I did is I dropped off the ER and I added my ending for to, which is ES. The very minimum, that's what you should be doing on this section. At least dropping off the ER and adding the right ending. You'll get partial credit for that. But then in order to get full credit, you have to remember the whole point of this section is that the accent marks change. For verbs like préférer, the second accent mark actually flips the other direction. So you'll notice that this first one is going up and to the right, whereas the second one has now flip-flopped over to going down and to the right. For les professeurs or les profs, you're using the ils form of your verb. So before you even worry about these accent marks, drop off the ER, add your ENT ending, you're at least halfway there. But then if you realize that promener works like acheter, in that all of those forms that are inside the boot, like prof, like they, have to have an accent mark added over the first E, then you'll remember to add that accent grave. It does have to go down and to the right, so make sure you got the right one there on promène. Coralie is one girl, so I go ahead and I drop the ER and I add that L ending, which is just letter E. And I remember that amener is just like acheter and promener for that matter, in that the inside the boot forms have to have an accent mark added to the first E. And finally, with acheter, I of course drop off the ER and add the letter E ending for the je form. And then of course, because we took notes on this verb specifically, acheter in the je, tu, il, el, and ils forms all have that accent mark added over the top as well. So for part F, at least make sure you're adding the right endings, but if you want to get full credit, pay close attention to those accent marks and make them very clear which direction you're putting them in.